Desire is never just about the body. It is about the mind being led into places it did not know it wanted to go. Men, even the ones who appear in complete control of their urges, carry within them a shadow, a set of unspoken cravings that they rarely reveal. These are not fantasies built on tenderness alone, but on the raw, unapologetic energy that tests boundaries and heightens the senses. If you understand the rhythm of these cravings, you can pull them into your orbit with ease, guiding them through an experience that lingers long after the moment has ended. The first move is not a move at all. It is the power of anticipation. You must create tension before you touch him. A glance that lasts a second too long, a breath near his neck without contact, a hand that almost grips but pulls away. These moments ignite his mind far before his body feels anything. Anticipation is the invisible rope you wrap around him, and the more you tighten it, the more he leans into you without realizing it. The second is controlled dominance. This is not chaos. This is not random force. It is the precise moment you take charge, pressing him down or holding his face so he cannot look anywhere else but at you. It is in your eyes, in the pressure of your touch, in the silent command that tells him he is no longer directing the scene. You are. It unsettles him because he is used to control, yet it excites him because surrender in the right hands feels like freedom. The third is the dance between pain and pleasure. A soft graze across his skin followed by a sharp bite, a gentle grip that suddenly tightens. The contrast makes every sensation more alive. The unpredictability of it short-circuits his expectations, forcing him to stay fully present because he cannot predict your next move. It is not brutality. It is artistry, the ability to take him to the edge of discomfort without ever crossing into harm. The fourth is psychological captivation. The mind is the most dangerous weapon in seduction. Your words, whispered or commanded, can change the temperature of the room. Your eyes can speak in ways your hands cannot. Sometimes silence, combined with unwavering contact, can create more tension than any touch. You make him feel like he is the only person in existence at that moment, and that power binds him to the experience. The fifth is breaking the pattern. Just when he believes he knows your pace, your style, your rhythm, you change it. Slow turns into fast. Rough turns into tender. Predictability is the enemy of desire. Surprise is its greatest ally. By dismantling his sense of what comes next, you keep him in a heightened state where every nerve in his body is waiting for instruction. And finally, the art of aftershock. You do not simply end the moment and leave him untouched. You pull away slowly, letting the heat settle into a deep ache. You might kiss him softly after being rough, or let your hands linger before disappearing. This is the imprint that stays with him. Not just the act itself, but the haunting memory of it. Men will rarely admit they crave these things because to name them is to expose a vulnerability. But if you can sense them, if you can control the balance of anticipation, dominance, unpredictability, and aftermath, you will own not just the moment, but his memory of it. And that, more than anything, is where real power lies. Anticipation works like a silent current running beneath every act of intimacy, and when it is mastered, it becomes more powerful than the act itself. It is the art of making someone feel the weight of your presence before you even touch them. In a world where everything moves fast and gratification is immediate, anticipation becomes rare and therefore irresistible. It draws from an ancient part of human instinct, the part that once hunted, waited, and imagined before making a move. The mind is not wired to separate fantasy from reality entirely, so the moment you plant the seed of what could happen, the body begins to respond as if it is already happening. This is why a lingering gaze or the sound of slow, deliberate breathing can cause more reaction than a sudden touch. It is about controlling the pace, making each moment stretch so he becomes aware of every second, the stillness between movements, the near contact that is withdrawn, the subtle suggestion hidden in a look. These moments make him hyper-aware, turning his focus entirely on you. Anticipation thrives on suggestion rather than delivery. You create small doses of pleasure and then take them away, not to frustrate but to magnify. The human mind places more value on what it has to wait for, and when you hold back, the eventual release carries 10 times the impact. This is where control comes in. You are not rushing to give, you are rationing the experience like something rare and precious. Your movements become deliberate, not out of hesitation, but out of precision. You leave traces, a touch that barely brushes his skin, a whisper so soft he strains to hear, a sudden pause right when he expects more. These interruptions are not breaks in the moment, they are the moment. His breathing will start to change, His eyes will follow your every move. His body will lean closer without realizing it. In this state, his mind is locked on you, building a narrative of what will happen next. By delaying, you are feeding that narrative, letting his imagination do half the work for you. When the touch finally comes, it is amplified by everything that came before it. The body reacts more intensely because the mind has been primed to expect something, and now it is here. The secret is not to show all your cards at once, but to let them reveal themselves slowly, keeping him suspended between wanting and having. This suspension is addictive, and once he experiences it, ordinary encounters will feel dull in comparison. Controlled dominance is not about chaos, brute strength, or reckless aggression. It is about precise authority, the kind that takes command of a moment with intent, not impulse. When a man feels this type of control, it shakes the balance he is used to. Many men live in a world where they decide the pace, the tone, and the direction of intimacy. But when that balance is reversed, and a woman steps into the role of silent commander, something primal is triggered inside him. This is not submission in the sense of weakness. It is a surrender he chooses because it feels dangerously exciting. The key is in the execution. Controlled dominance must be measured, deliberate, and purposeful. It might begin with the way you position his body, pushing him down, holding his wrists, or pinning him with the weight of your gaze. The eyes are as much a weapon as the hands here. When your look tells him there is no negotiation, his body will instinctively respond. This type of control is not loud or frantic. It is steady, unshaken, and entirely confident, and that is why it works. There is a rhythm to dominance that makes it effective. Too much force without contrast becomes flat. The secret lies in combining control with moments of stillness. Holding him in place without rushing the next action forces him to become aware of the tension between you. His mind starts racing, trying to predict your next move, but you control that timeline. The longer you make him wait under your control, the deeper the craving becomes. Even small gestures, when backed with authority, can change the entire energy of an encounter. The way you grip his chin to keep his eyes on you, the way you stop his movement with a single hand, or the way you use your body to block his, each one signals that you are setting the rules. And when a man feels those rules are unshakable, he gives in more fully. This kind of dominance creates a paradox in his mind. He feels overpowered, yet more secure than before, because your control is intentional, not reckless. He knows you are guiding the experience, that you are choosing the path and pace, and that knowledge allows him to let go without fear. It becomes less about resistance and more about immersion. When done right, controlled dominance becomes addictive because it feeds two conflicting desires at once, the urge to resist and the urge to surrender. Balancing these forces is what turns ordinary contact into something unforgettable, a memory that replays in his mind long after it is over. The dance between pain and pleasure is one of the oldest and most potent forces in human intimacy. It is not about inflicting harm, but about creating contrast so sharp that each sensation feels more alive. The body reacts most intensely when it cannot predict what is coming next, and this is where the skill lies. By weaving moments of tenderness with sudden bursts of intensity, you keep him suspended in a state of heightened awareness, where every nerve is on edge and every breath is deeper than the last. Pain in its controlled form sharpens pleasure because it jolts the senses awake. A soft graze across his skin followed by a sharp bite will make the bite burn brighter in his mind. A tender kiss that suddenly turns into a fierce grip creates a rush of adrenaline that deepens desire. It is the difference between walking on a calm shore and being caught in a wave. The sudden shift pulls him out of the predictable and into the thrilling unknown. The secret is balance. Too much intensity without relief will numb him, while too much gentleness will dull the spark. The real power comes from contrast. The moment you offer a sharp sensation, you immediately soften it, letting warmth wash over where the sting was moments before. This not only soothes but also magnifies the memory of the intensity, making the pleasure richer. Control is essential here. You must know exactly how far to push without crossing the line where discomfort becomes unwanted pain. Reading his body, his breathing, his tension, his movements is how you navigate this terrain. A slight pull in his breath, a deeper exhale, a sudden stillness. These are cues that tell you when to increase the pressure or when to ease back. Part of the allure of mixing pain with pleasure is that it bypasses his thinking mind. In that moment, he is not analyzing or controlling the situation. He is simply feeling. The unpredictability keeps him from retreating into routine. Each sudden change becomes a spark that forces his senses into the present. When done well, this interplay becomes a kind of intoxication. The sharpness makes the softness sweeter, the softness makes the sharpness more electric. It is not about violence. It is about artistry, painting with sensations, using the extremes to make the middle feel richer than it ever could on its own. And when you master that balance, you give him an experience that feels as primal as it does unforgettable. Psychological captivation is the invisible thread that binds the body to the mind during intimacy. Long before touch begins, the mind can be pulled into a state where it becomes almost powerless to resist. This is because true intensity is never just physical. It is a mental game, a slow weaving of focus and attention until he forgets the world outside of you. The most skilled captivation does not happen by accident. It is crafted through deliberate cues that keep his thoughts locked where you want them. Your eyes become the first and most dangerous weapon. Holding his gaze for longer than expected tells him something unspoken, that you see him completely, that there is no escape from your attention. Sometimes you speak, sometimes you do not. Words can push him deeper, painting pictures in his mind, commanding him, or teasing him with hints of what is coming. Other times, silence speaks louder than any voice could, especially when paired with a look that holds him in place. Every move you make in this state should feel intentional. The way you shift closer, the way your hand lingers just near his skin without touching, the pause before an action, each choice is a signal that he must follow. This keeps him off balance in the best way, always wondering what will come next, never quite able to anticipate your rhythm. Psychological captivation also means controlling his mental space. You remove distractions, not by force, but by flooding his senses until you are the only point of focus. The warmth of your breath, the nearness of your voice, the subtle pressure of your touch, these small details form an atmosphere that shuts out everything else. The more you hold him here, the deeper the connection becomes. When you reach this level, physical moves carry more weight because the mind has been primed to receive them. A simple touch feels amplified, not because it is stronger, but because his attention is locked so tightly on you. This is why psychological captivation is so powerful. It takes control of his most sensitive organ, the mind, and once you own that, the rest follows without resistance. The experience becomes something he cannot fully explain. He remembers the way you looked at him, the way you made him feel, as if there was nothing else in existence but the two of you. That memory will linger long after the moment ends, pulling him back toward you. Because captivation leaves an imprint that ordinary touch can never match. Breaking the pattern is the act of disrupting his expectations at the exact moment he believes he has learned your rhythm. Desire fades in routine, and the human mind quickly adapts to patterns no matter how exciting they once were. The moment he begins to predict your next move, the intensity starts to drop. This is why sudden, deliberate changes create such a surge in energy. They reawaken instincts that only thrive in unpredictability. The shift can be in pace, tone, or style. You might be slow and deliberate one moment, then suddenly quick and assertive the next. You might hold him firmly only to switch into a moment of unexpected tenderness. These shifts work because they jolt his senses awake, reminding him that he cannot rely on what came before. Each break in the pattern forces him to stay present because the future of the moment is unknown. The power of this approach lies in its timing. A change too soon feels chaotic, a change too late feels dull. The most effective breaks come just as he begins to settle into the current pace. You let him get comfortable enough to believe he knows what will happen. Then you dismantle that belief in an instant. The effect is a rush, a mix of excitement, curiosity, and a hint of vulnerability. Even small changes can have a profound effect. Shifting the tone of your touch, altering your voice from soft to commanding, or changing your position unexpectedly all disrupt the mental pattern forming in his mind. The more he realizes he cannot predict you, the more he is pulled into the moment, giving up the need to control it. This unpredictability taps into something primal. Long ago, survival depended on reacting to the unexpected. That instinct still exists, and when you use it here, it creates a heightened state of awareness where every detail is sharper. His focus narrows, his body responds faster, and his emotions run deeper. Breaking the pattern is not about chaos or randomness, it is about strategic disruption. You control when and how the shift happens, ensuring it feels exciting rather than jarring. When done right, it keeps him locked in a loop of anticipation and surprise, making each moment more addictive than the last. Once he learns that nothing with you can be fully predicted, he will crave the next shift, and you will always be the one holding the element of surprise. The art of aftershock is the mastery of what happens when the moment itself has ended, yet its presence still lingers in the body and mind. Many think the end is a sharp cutoff, but the most powerful experiences taper like a slow burning flame, fading only when you allow them to. This lingering effect is what turns an act into a memory and a memory into an obsession. It is not about prolonging the physical contact, but about withdrawing in a way that makes the absence itself feel like part of the seduction. After intense energy, the sudden drop can feel empty, but you can control that descent so it becomes part of the allure. A slow touch that retreats, a gaze that holds for one last moment, a kiss that softens instead of breaking abruptly. These are the strokes that leave him suspended in a haze. It is not simply about being done. It is about leaving him feeling as if the moment is still echoing in his body. This works because the human mind remembers contrasts more vividly than constants. After the rush of roughness, the gentleness that follows feels amplified. The warmth feels warmer, the closeness feels deeper because it is placed next to what came before. You are shaping the memory in real time, deciding which sensations he will replay in his mind later. Even silence plays a role here. When you say nothing, when you simply let the air between you settle, it forces him to process everything he has just felt. His breathing slows, his heart rate begins to even out, but his mind remains tangled in the images you've left behind. This quiet moment becomes an invisible hook that pulls him back toward you later. The aftershock is also about control over when and how he re-enters reality. You decide when the energy breaks, and you guide him through that return. If you let go too quickly, the connection fades like smoke. If you linger with intent, it becomes an imprint he cannot erase. When done well, the aftershock ensures that the experience lives far beyond the time it happened. He will carry it in his body like a shadow, a reminder of the moment that refuses to fully leave. And when that memory stirs again, it will not just recall the act itself. It will recall you as the one who knew exactly how to end in a way that never really ended at all. Desire is never just a matter of the body. It begins long before touch, rooted in the mind's ability to imagine and anticipate. Anticipation is the silent current that runs beneath every act of intimacy, and when it is mastered, it becomes more powerful than the act itself. It is the art of making someone feel the weight of your presence before you even touch them. In a world where everything moves fast and gratification is immediate, anticipation becomes rare and irresistible. It draws from an ancient part of human instinct, the part that once hunted, waited, and imagined before making a move. A lingering gaze, a slow breath, a hand that almost touches but pulls away. These are not just gestures, they are the invisible ropes that bind his attention to you. By holding back, you give his imagination time to build the moment into something bigger than reality, so when you finally move, the release is 10 times more powerful. When the moment comes, you shift into controlled dominance, not chaos, not brute force, but precise authority. It is the calculated takeover of a moment, the silent command that tells him he is no longer directing the scene. You are. You push him down, hold his face, or fix him with a gaze that leaves no space for negotiation. This kind of dominance unsettles him because it challenges the control he is used to, yet excites him because surrender, in the right hands, feels like freedom. Your movements are steady, intentional, unshaken. You create tension not by rushing, but by holding him still, forcing him to feel every second under your control. In that space, resistance fades and immersion takes over, leaving him caught between the thrill of defiance and the comfort of release. From there, you introduce the dance between pain and pleasure, an ancient game of contrasts. It is not about harm, but about sharpening every sensation. A soft graze across his skin followed by a sharp bite makes the bite burn brighter in his mind. A tender kiss that turns into a fierce grip sends a rush of adrenaline that deepens desire. The secret lies in balance. Too much intensity numbs, too much gentleness dulls. But when you alternate them, each one makes the other more potent. You read his breath, his tension, his stillness, knowing exactly when to push and when to soothe. This unpredictability keeps him locked in the present, bypassing his thinking mind and forcing him into pure sensation. While the body reacts, the mind is drawn deeper through psychological captivation. This is the invisible thread that binds him to you, making him forget the world outside your touch. Your eyes hold him in place, your words pull him into a scene he cannot escape, and your silences speak with more weight than sound. Every movement you make feels intentional, keeping him off balance and unable to predict your rhythm. You remove distractions by flooding his senses with your presence until a simple touch feels amplified, not because it is harder, but because he has been primed to receive it. This is the kind of control that leaves him remembering not just what you did, but how you made him feel as if nothing else existed. Then, just as he starts to understand your rhythm, you break the pattern. Desire cannot survive in routine, and the moment he predicts your next move, intensity begins to fade. You shift the pace without warning, slow to fast, rough to tender, quiet to commanding. You let him settle into comfort just long enough to believe he knows what's next, then you dismantle that belief in an instant. These shifts awaken primal instincts, forcing him into a state of heightened awareness where every detail becomes sharper. He stays present because the future of the moment is unknown, and that unpredictability makes each second addictive. Finally, you master the art of aftershock, the lingering imprint that makes the experience impossible to forget. You do not end abruptly. You fade with control, a slow retreat of your touch, a gaze that holds for one last moment, a kiss that softens instead of breaking sharply. These keep him suspended in a haze long after the act itself is over. The contrast between intensity and gentleness makes the final moments feel warmer, deeper, more haunting. Silence here becomes an ally, forcing him to process everything he has just felt while his body still hums from the memory. You guide him out of the moment on your terms, ensuring that when he replays it in his mind later, it will not fade like smoke. It will return with full force, along with the thought of you as the one who knew exactly how to make it last without ever really ending.